season 1, episode 5. Definitely a different tempo to this one than the previous episode.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think it actually makes me appreciate the previous episode more because you really see the contrast of like where he came from to like the man he is now from after that experience, where you see how muted and how just not speaking, not doing things he was then, and then how now he's become the man of action. He's got his call to action. He's out there. He's taking the fight to people, both physically and verbally. I mean, he's with his speech there at the end, just changing people's opinions and everything. I really like this episode.
Did you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was definitely a more up tempo. He's confident. He's assertive. He's certainly by the end of the episode completely set his mind to being Harlem's hero.
Mm-hmm.
There's Cottonmouth again trying to gambit where he's gonna, just try to recoup some of his money and by stealing it from Harlem, basically.
Yep.
And laying the blame at the foot of Luke Cage, trying to pit Harlem against Luke Cage. And Luke Cage just stands up and says, "All right, let's go deal with this," and starts in a suit, in his nice funeral suit that he had tailored. He heads out and starts, beating up thugs and recouping some of the losses. Which makes you wonder, is Cottonmouth going to just keep flailing and trying crazy crap, and where is it going to go?
Well, he's the most public too. Like I look back at again Daredevil and Jessica Jones. No one knows who Daredevil is except for a select few. His whole thing. I mean, he's like the Batman type character. He's taking it at the night. He's part of it is like the mystique of Daredevil is what he's using to fight people with. Jessica Jones doesn't want to be a hero on any level. She just is trying to get by and help people, but she doesn't want to be a hero. And Luke Cage is a hero now.
Yeah.
Like he's stepping up and doing that, and he's public. People know who he is. He's on the news. I'm wondering where this can go because he's the first of these like street level of the Netflix universe of the street level heroes. That's actually like, yeah, I'm a superhero kind of. I mean, he hasn't gone on news and said, yeah, I can bench press 10,000 pounds, but people are kind of aware that something shenanigans is happening with him.
Yeah, and he seems to have a very similar plan or idea about what he should be doing to what Daredevil Matt Murdock has. I'm gonna handle this. I'm gonna take care of the crime in Harlem. But like you said, he's doing it out in the open, whereas Daredevil's still got the secret identity thing going on. So, and then we saw a little bit of finally Diamondback's influence, I guess. Shades pitches this super bullet to Cottonmouth, and apparently tells him it's going to cost him a ridiculous amount of money, or he can kind of trade it for as a favor to Diamondback. And so you start seeing that, okay, well this is Diamondback's move to kind of take control.
Yep. Which
it makes me wonder. I want to know more about Diamondback. Like, where's he at? Where's his power come from? If Cottonmouth didn't report to him already, but everyone's afraid of him, I kind of wonder how he fits into the criminal pantheon in New York. And then so now they got this bullet that they think might kill Luke Cage coming.
See, now my thing to that is it looked like there was a delay between hit and Explosion, and bullets bounce off Luke Cage.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that's really going to make a difference.
Yeah.
Like, maybe he catches it and, like, holds it against his forehead for it to explode or something. But, I'm sure they'll hit him and stick him a little bit or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It doesn't look as scary as they seem to think it is, but maybe they still don't know exactly what's going on with him either. So.
Yeah, for sure. We also saw Rosario Dawson's nurse character.
Kind of a night nurse, but I don't think that's technically her name.
So kind of threading her way into the story. She's in Harlem now, it looks like. And they tied it back into what happened in Daredevil, where she lost her job at the hospital and all that. So she's come home to her mama, and for whatever reason has had some kind of like life decision that she's supposed to help superheroes, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Wait, yeah, because it's like up until then, also she's been kind of like, I don't want to do this. I'm trying to keep my job. Maybe, you know, she's the through thread, right? She's the one person that's been in every single one of these shows, and that's her becoming her own superhero. Really, is like,
Right.
okay, well, I'm going to step it up and help these people that can't go to normal hospitals, and I'm going to keep this engine running of street level heroes, basically.
Right. So I anticipate us seeing her in next episode. Yeah,
More likely,
talk to Luke. Um, what else did we have happen in this episode?
We had they're starting to actually investigate the bad cop, but looks like some of the people who, like, it's not just him. It's way more. Obviously, he's not the only cop on payroll. It's
Right.
this whole network. I'm wondering where that story's going to go. I mean, do you think that they're going to like take down all the corrupt cops in the area at the end of this season?
Well, but there was that thing towards the end where he's got the van full of weaponry that he, got out of the evidence room, but he didn't. Like, did you understand what's happening with the whole text message with Cottonmouth?
Yeah, look like he was maybe he was deciding like, I'm not going to give him the guns. This is getting too crazy. I'm going to take him out type of a thing, because that's what he was talking about. So yeah, maybe they're getting up with like a third group of people trying to do something else. The crooked cops turn, or at least that cop turning against them.
Yeah, so who knows where that's going to go. You said 13 episodes?
It looks like 13 episodes this season.
We're on episode 5, so there's a lot of room for some different threads, I guess, here. The last thing I want to talk about was the neat, at the funeral for Pops, you had sort of a rhetorical duel between Cottonmouth, who came up and spoke to the church, and then Luke Cage did the same thing. And it started out with Cottonmouth's speech talking about aliens and strangers and kind of alluding directly to Luke Cage being there.
People with arcane powers.
Yeah. Some weirdo who's not really from Harlem. And that seemed to have a little bit of reverberation with the crowd. But then Luke Cage came up and, did this much more inspiring speech, I guess you would say, and won over the whole crowd. And that was kind of cool. And it was kind of felt a little bit like the Holy Ground Highlander thing, like we're in the church, we can argue, but we can't do anything. That was a neat scene. I kind of liked that a lot.
Because you have to admit, I mean, the people there know it's Cottonmouth's people who are shaking everybody down, and then they're like, blame Luke Cage, and then Luke Cage goes out and beats them up and tries to get the money back for the people. Like the system, the system doesn't work. I understand, being in power and like through fear and violence, but when there's someone who's completely immune to that fear and violence, it's going to be interesting. I'm sure things are going to get far worse in Harlem before Luke Cage turns it around. I'm wondering though, do you think that it's going to be like, do you think he's going to completely take everybody out? Because so far he doesn't really kill anybody or anything. So just beating people up doesn't solve the problem. Do you think he's going to, bust open doors and call cops and get them to show up to do busts? Or do you think he's just going to break legs? How do you think he's going to resolve like the problem in this area?
I anticipate it being something like that, kind of more in the typical Daredevil vein for a while. But I expect there to be an escalation, right? At some point, Cottonmouth's going to be completely cornered, and something bad is going to really happen between them directly. That was also kind of interesting when he went into the club and squared off with, Cottonmouth exhibited no fear about being in Luke Cage's presence.
And Luke Cage should have just been done with it. But
yeah, so Luke Cage got a little bit of honor, and I think Cottonmouth got a lot of crazy. And we saw that crazy too when he shot one of his own people during their little State of the Union meeting, for suggesting that he just let Luke Cage slide. So I expect Cottonmouth's crazy to escalate. I think Luke Cage will probably start off by doing the standard crime fighting, beat people up, help people, call the cops, what have you, or leave people for the cops. And then Cottonmouth's just going to make it worse and worse. That would be my guess.
Do you think Cottonmouth's going to get himself in trouble then by bringing it to such a high level that like everyone the cops and everything get involved and it doesn't matter what Luke Cage kind of does?
He'll totally overplay. It'll be interesting to see too does that lead to Diamondback getting more directly involved? Or maybe Diamondback's a little more distant, nefarious Kingpin kind of guy who we don't even really see until season 2 or something.
That'd be cool.
That. Yeah. Very cool.
Well, I think that's our quickie review for episode 5.
Yeah.
We're going to go hit the TV, watch episode 6, and be back shortly with another one.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.